On today's edition of the Wise Guy Sports Show, a controversial ruling leaves us scratching our heads in college football. We prepare to crown champions in the NBA and the NHL, and we whip around the diamond in the MLB. Episode 152 comes at you right now.
James, it's episode 152 of the Wise Guys, and we have a pretty packed show, even though there's not a whole lot going on in the sports world right now, outside of course, the two finals that are going on between the NBA and the NHL. But Jim, we are going to start with one of the topics that is near and dear to my heart, and that is college football. And no, we are not going to slobber all over Ohio State in their offseason. We are not going to take shots at the team up north and their lack of offseason. We are going to start in the Big 12. And James, if you would like to let the people know why we're starting in the Big 12, I would appreciate that, sir.
Well, the ruling came down earlier this week after much back and forth. Brendan Sorsby is going to be allowed to play.
I think the fallout here is going to be huge. And to be honest with you, some of the other stuff I've now read, this dude was betting unders on Indiana when he was on the team.
Yeah, it's not, this might be, we've talked about it, before. The NCAA is a joke. This might be the start. This might be the, I don't want to say the beginning of the end, but we're definitely going to start to see some things unravel here with this, because they've now allowed a guy back in for gambling as the first. Somebody actually said the first major sports league to do so for a player who was initially tossed out for gambling. This is an absolute crock. The only way that we can actually say with this ruling is,
gentlemen, this bill will be a giant step forward in the treatment of the insane gambler.
I'm so glad I had that idea today. So to build off Governor LePetitmain's statement there, would I be Mungo or Hedy Lamar? Or Headley Lamar? That's the real question.
But my friends still call me Jim.
There's a joke I could make about skin tone, but I'm going to leave that there.
Shut up. Shut your mouth. We ain't got a whole lot of time. Shut your cake hole.
So moving on from Blazing Saddles real quick. Jim, the fallout's already started, because I don't know if you've seen this part where the commissioners of the Big Ten and the SEC have now said no team is to schedule Texas Tech. Someone came out with a thing on TikTok that there is a way for the CFP committee to set it up that, let him be reinstated, but do not allow any games that he plays in to be counted toward the resume of Texas Tech going into the playoff. There's a couple of different committees. I got to do some more research on it. And obviously we're going to talk about this as it gets closer to college football season, but this is a joke. I mean, let's start with why it's a joke. Number one, the NCAA very rightfully declared him ineligible. They did their job.
Yep.
But Jim, why does it not surprise me that a judge in Texas said this was okay, considering what prosecutors and judges in Texas wouldn't prosecute just a few years ago that would have saved the Cleveland Browns Myles Garrett?
Thank you for going there, because that's exactly the direction I was thinking.
Yeah, this ruling by this judge in Lubbock is an absolute indictment of not only the criminal justice system in the state of Texas, but it is an indictment on the NCAA for having zero teeth left. Not for nothing, Jim, and you can call me a hater all you want. The sheer fact that a team won a championship with cheating attached to it, and the only thing they got was a fine, that should have told you the NCAA had no teeth left in its head. Hear me out, though. If that scandal would have happened around the time of the tattoos, Michigan would have gotten the death penalty.
You're adorable.
You think I'm wrong?
Death penalty? Probation, maybe. Death penalty?
You think?
Fuck no.
You think if they cheated their way to a national championship and then had their head coach, arrested because he was having a relationship with a chick on the side from his wife,
totally unrelated,
it's still conduct, Jim.
It's still institutional control. I get that, but it goes. You'd basically have to have Miami from the 90s come back now with actual murders or repeat SMU all over again. There's no, or actually even smash the two together for death penalty.
I think you're right.
Penn State deserved death penalty. Michigan, 3-year probation, no bowl games, strip scholarships.
And you're right now, I agree with you. I'm just saying if this would have happened 10, 15 years ago with some of the penalties they were handing down, I think that's what they would have gotten then. Not now. No, now, absolutely not. That's what they gotten then. We've had this situation with the gambling before in college football. We had a kid from Iowa who placed one single $10 bet, and he's gone. He was going to be a draft pick had he played that season, and he's had to hang him up. He's done. So this is ridiculous.
And the fact that Sorsby's got a case moving forward against the NCAA for 2 weeks after the national championship game in February is even more ridiculous. I mean, whatever stock that any team was thinking about using with him with the supplemental draft, if he would have been ruled out, the kid basically just killed the rest of his career. If he lets this go, he enters the supplemental draft, somebody's taking a run at him in the supplemental draft, or if he enters the regular draft, somebody's using maybe a second or third round pick or a mid round pick on him. At this point now, that's gone. He's Johnny Manziel, where he'll never get to suit up in an NFL uniform at this point because nobody wants that attached to him.
Oh, especially not. I mean, is this Trevor Bauer in the NFL or in MLB?
What was his name?
No, I'm saying, is this Trevor Bauer? Is this let off by the legal system? Granted, he did something wrong. Well, I guess it's the optics, right? The optics on this, if you bring him in.
Yeah, I mean, it would entirely be, part of the optics. It's it's still, I'm racking my brain. I cannot remember who this was. The guy in the NFL that got broken off for a year for gambling.
Oh, the wide receiver from Atlanta.
Yes.
What was his name?
Calvin Ridley.
Here's the other question. If he decides to drop this, all right, let's say he doesn't. Let's go here. Let's say he doesn't. Let's say Texas Tech actually plays him. Does Roger Goodell, when he goes into the league, have the authority to put eyes on him from the jump?
Oh, without question, just because of the fact that there's a lot more scrutiny and everything involved in the way that everything's watched like a hawk. I mean, we all saw that the second Ridley got busted, they broke him off for a year, and he placed $1,500 worth of bets. I did a blog on it back in 2022 when that came down. What do you think they're going to do with Sorsby, who's got that history going in? The last thing they want is another issue like Ridley, or you and I are going to appreciate this a little bit more. Me being from Ohio and being a former Buckeye fan, you know where I'm going. Do they want another Art Schleister?
Agreed. I don't think they do. Now, here's the other question, and this is the big one here. If they break him off in the NFL and put these clamps on him, Does that do anything to their sponsorship agreements with FanDuel and Prize Picks and all these other sites that they are really letting throw a ton of money at them so they can advertise on their games and their stadiums?
I think it's a very, very slippery slope. There's an argument that I'm going to make, and stay with me here. And this is back from my deductive logic days when I was back in college. After you and I kind of split, and I went to CSU. I believe it's called modus tollens. So if A implies B, but B is negative, then A also must be negative. So it would be, Sorsby bet on games, and he profited, but it was his own profit. Therefore, it's only benefiting him and would not be detrimental to whomever. Um, couldn't be farther from the truth at this point, because now Texas Tech is still the favorite in the Big 12 going into the year for the run that they had last year. You know, with the fact that we also know that Texas Tech, the Big 12's come down after losing Oklahoma and Texas in the last few years. They're still the cream of that, even though Arizona's definitely on the come up. Um, what's to say that he doesn't get into games? I mean, now immediately you're going to start to see all eyes on them. What if they go up 35 points, even though he's not the starter and he's the backup, at this point? Is he gonna are they gonna put him in for mop up time to be able to pad stats and everything? What's gonna happen with that? Are teams willing to actually forfeit games on their schedule so they don't have to play this guy? We saw it. We saw what happened a couple of years ago. Even though it's apples to apples, oranges to oranges. Remember the scandal that happened at San Jose State, where the players outed a trans uh, player on their own
Yes.
roster going into their conference tournament, and their opponents ended up forfeiting those games. Could we see something along those lines where you might see certain schools say it's not worth the trouble, either bench him or deactivate him, or we're not traveling, we're not playing this game?
I think where you'll see it is, especially with more changes to the playoff coming that I think we're going to have to get into in the next few months. Um, you're going to see out of conference games become more important. No one from the out of conference is going to want to, that's any good, is going to want to play them. I said it before. Greg Sankey, and I can't stand him. I think he's an arrogant SOB. And the Petiti, the head of the Big Ten, have already basically come out and said, we will not schedule Texas Tech in the non-conference. It's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
So the two conferences that run the sport are basically doing one of these to you because your quarterback's a dirty, degenerate gambler.
Right.
I cannot believe he got reinstated, dude. Like, I know that college football is big, of course, where I am because it's the deep South. There are people who cannot stomach this ruling, and they're not even Big 12 people. It's
Yeah.
ACC and SEC country down here. And everybody's like, well, this kid doesn't deserve to play. No, he doesn't deserve to play. He doesn't.
The two names that I've actually heard, and one of them's going to make you sick here, but that I've actually heard be more so, I don't want to say voice of reason, but actually gave some of the better arguments. Go watch the comments that happened in the really within, I want to say, 18 to 24 hours after the ruling came down. Paul Feinbaum and Jay Billis. Billis made a really good point that said, who's to say that Texas Tech is actually going to play him in the wake of this and just exhausts his eligibility? Um, Feinbaum made a very similar type, statement that um I don't remember the exact wording with it. Because Billis actually expects there to be an appeal and the ruling is going to get overturned. I mean, who's to say that the Big 12 doesn't actually leverage sanctions, saying that, yeah, the court may have said this, but you still answer to us. You're not allowed to play.
So here's where I think we're gonna basically have one of these things. The Texas Tech AD came out and said to my colleagues, I understand the frustration. This situation is hard. It is new, and there is no perfect answer. The system we're operating within is binary, but the situation is not. We are open to ongoing conversation about how to best handle these issues as an industry going forward. We will continue to be transparent in our decision making. Most importantly, we'll keep doing what we have always done, put our students first. That tells me they're going to play him. That right there tells me that he is not going to stop them from playing him.
And that's what actually makes this even worse, because really at this point this is no different than appealing. um and I know I really, 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 as we're coming to the very final few seconds of this segment, um it really makes it no different than a drug bust, an alcohol bust, or, I'm sorry to say it, man, sexual assault while the appeal's going on.
He broke the law because he was betting at 18 when he was in Indiana. And you're absolutely right. But again, Jim, this is Texas.
Mike, and possibly our second to last time talking about the hardwood and the ice this year, because probably by the next time we do this, both of those series are going to be over. We've actually got we're going to Game 5 in the in the Stanley Cup Finals. We're in the middle of Game 4 in the NBA Finals, but we're going to start on the ice, where no lead is safe with this. That we've seen 3 goal leads evaporated in minutes. We've seen 2 goal leads evaporated in seconds. Does anybody want to win the Stanley Cup between Carolina and Vegas right now?
So here's the thing I love about this series. And again, full disclosure, the modem and the TV went. So we're using everything off the Xbox. And a friend of mine gave me the YouTube TV sign in, and I can't switch it to the Xbox. So I haven't been able to watch either of the finals. I've been paying attention on my phone as best I can. So with the NHL, I check that scoreboard every night. Right. I see when they start, and I get the period updates. Dude, I went to bed the other night and Carolina was down 2. I got up in the middle of the night because Bobby woke up. I looked at my phone when I came back to bed and Carolina won. I was like, what the?
Even more so than that, Mitch Marner has a hat trick, a natural hat trick in under 6 minutes. And then in a span of 3.5 minutes, Carolina erased it.
Yeah, that was insanity. This has been one of the more exciting Stanley Cup finals I can remember. Last year's was a laugher. I mean, it was a gentleman's sweep, but it was a laugher. Florida had that series in hand from the first puck drop. The
Yeah.
year before was very exciting. That went 7 games. This one is exciting not because it's 2-2 going into Game 5. It's because these two teams are just trading haymakers, Jim.
Yeah. It's, there's talk that Carolina was actually going to, change goaltenders with the way that, they've been letting up. Carter Hart's been steady, but everyone wants Vegas to lose because of the fact of what's going on. What we talked about with Carter Hart through these playoffs and the controversy following him. This is Jordan Stahl winning, getting the game winner last night, basically falling down on that pass
That
from
was a great
Seth
play.
Jarvis. I mean, yeah, fantastic, fantastic play. And now the series shifts back to Raleigh. It's best 2 out of 3. You'd figure the Canes are going to would love to hold serve, but we've all seen nothing is safe and nothing is sacred in this series.
No, and you mentioned you think the Canes would hold home court or home ice, excuse me, and hold serve in games 5 and 7 and get out with a Stanley Cup. Look, I wouldn't be shocked if Vegas came out and won Game 6, but then lost Game 5 and then lost Game 6 on their home ice with a 1-game winner take all showdown in a Game 7, which again, the two greatest words in all of sports are Game 7.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what to think, dude. I don't know what to think. We were shocked as hell when Vegas got here.
Yep.
And now it's been insanity.
I mean, you look at the series 5-4, 4-3 in overtime, 5-4 double overtime, 5-3. You've got 4 games decided by a grand total of 5 goals. That's the
Yeah,
margin of victory.
and usually when you hear that in good Stanley Cup finals, you're thinking 2-1, 3-2 at the most.
Yeah.
These dudes are putting up 4 and 5 goals a night, and it makes you wonder. We talked about this. If you have a goalie who stands on his head, that's how you win the Stanley Cup. Are these two teams going to win it on offense? Or one
I
of them?
mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, pretty much when you look at it, um, can we drive salt in the wound anymore if you're a Maple Leafs fan? Because if Vegas wins the cup, even if they don't, even if this goes like if this is a close game in game 7, um, Mike, Mitch Marner's going to win the Conn Smythe. He's got 29 points in these playoffs. In 10 years in Toronto, he had 29 points in their playoff series.
Well, let's be honest here. Most of that reason is because he was in Toronto for 10 years.
Right. I
All the
understand that. Jack Keichel's got 20. You know, Brett
fuck
Howden
him.
leads all scorers. And somebody threw the graphic up that like in typical Stanley Cup fashion, your star, a Ryan O'Reilly, a Matthew Kachuk, uh Carter Verhaeghe, Mitch Marner lead the playoffs in scoring, but you've got a second or third line center, in this case Brett Howden with Vegas, leading the playoffs with 14 goals.
That's crazy. Sorry about the typing. Alex wrote back to something. So I
Oh,
was
not a problem at all. It's Marner's
so
plus minus is plus 15. That's a
that's
season
crazy.
for some guys in the league.
That is, I was going to say that's a season, if not a half. That's a half season, if not a full season for most guys.
Yeah.
You know, to wrap up the Stanley Cup Finals, I just want to say this: we are looking towards offense in football, looking towards offense in baseball, looking towards offense in basketball. A lot of times, it feels to me like hockey is the one sport we want defense, and we're not getting it, but it's just as fun.
Yeah, and then we actually shift from, you know, score scoring being up in a very high scoring Stanley Cup final, and we shift to the NBA finals that Mike, with all the news going on and everything, first of all, the Knicks decided not to show up tonight. Um with all the controversy and everything that surrounded the pageantry with game 3 being in the Garden, and then just the back and forth with the first 2 games in San Antonio. um we're either going back to Texas 2-2 and it's best of 3, or the Knicks are basically just, you know, the Knicks are actually going to pull off the comeback of the century tonight, from when we're taping this, and look to basically win their first championship in 50 years.
No, we're going back to Texas 2-2. I honestly believe that. I think that the Spurs are just going to put their foot on their throat. I don't know if you saw this, but they attacked Karl Anthony Towns in the first quarter. He played 3 minutes.
Yeah, because
He
I
played
did
3.
actually see that like they jumped out 12 at the time we're taping this on Wednesday, June the 10th. It started off 12-2, then it actually turned to 14-12. The Knicks go on a run. The Knicks the Spurs led by 17, I think it was, at the end of the first, and now with, you know, midway through the second, they're up 21. They are looking to make a statement, especially after that great come from behind win in game 2 in Madison Square Garden, that actually had all the storylines for all the wrong reasons, Michael.
Yeah, no, it's not good. There are a couple things that came out of that game that were pretty funny in game 3. I don't know if you saw any of the behind the scenes stuff, but McAfee's doing radio, I guess, and at one point in time had both Tina Fey and Tracy Morgan there, and he asked them both what happens if the Knicks win, and Tracy Morgan says, "I think the Statue of Liberty gonna get pregnant."
First of all, Tracy,
I don't
yeah,
know.
no,
It's Tracy. But second of all, you know, the pageantry is always going to be there at the Garden, especially in the postseason. You're talking about a celebrity row in row 1. Taylor's there tonight because
yeah,
she was in New York for the Toy Story thing today. Um, you know, I'm going to go here, but the best meme came out because Mariska Hargitay and Christopher Maloney were courtside, and a certain person was in a suite up top, and people were telling them go do their job.
Michael, whomever would you mean? I mean, could you be implying?
Quite frankly, I'm a worthless fucking fat ass who shits his pants.
And that's the only time we'll actually mention that name tonight.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention the name. He's kind of like Voldemort now.
You know, and the fact that he actually says that the cheers were loud. Look at any fan cam video. ABC did not pump in crowd noise with that.
No.
And how could he even recognize? Because, 2 seconds after he was saluting, which first of all, he's not supposed to be doing, he was asleep.
Yeah. I think the signs outside tonight were better, but moving on back to the more important things, and that's the games. Listen, I said it when we previewed the series. If Wembanyama gets on his game, the Knicks are done. There's no answer for this guy. He's a 7'2" point guard who can bang on the boards once he gets a few more pounds on him and hit a three from the logo like it's nobody's business.
I mean, yeah. In game 3, when the Knicks go to make a run, when I actually see him out on the wing hitting a step back 26-foot three and doesn't even have to call glass or rim. We always said that the matchup was going to decide this series was actually going to be him against Cat, and right now he's winning this battle. I mean, Jalen Brunson takes over in game 1, and then tries to bring them back in game 3, and it just it was enough in game 1 in San Antonio, and San Antonio just had way too much for him in game 3.
Yeah, and they're way too much for him again tonight. The Knicks are down 21, as you mentioned, going into the half. I think it was like 4 minutes or something left in the first half that they were down 21.
Yeah, I mean, it's 24 right now.
Yeah, I will say this, though. The Knicks are playing really well. They just got outplayed in game 3, and they're getting outplayed tonight, and it happens. To tease a little bit for next week, Jim, we're going to talk about a team that outplayed another one for a 3-game stretch that put them in the history books next Friday night. So it's not unheard of that a better team gets out, or a team that, and I believe this, I think the Knicks are the better team. I think the Spurs have the best player on the floor, and a lot of times when you're the best player on the floor, you make the runs, you win the games.
And it's funny, you're right that Wembanyama is the best player on the floor. Jalen Brunson's been damn good. If the Knicks win, he's going to win Finals MVP if the Knicks win this thing, I think, without question. But let's also be honest, Wemby has finally kind of come to life and come back, and let everyone know that he should have won the MVP this year in games 3 and now game 4, to an extent also in game 2. But you have to look with the Spurs. De'Aaron Fox was their best player on the floor in game 1 and for most of game 2.
He was. I will say this. If the Knicks pull this thing off, I think for the second time in 10 years, Adam Silver has to say it was unanimous with the Finals MVP. It will be Jalen Brunson. But there's 2 players that I can't believe aren't playing better, more consistently. One of them, yes, is Karl Anthony Towns. I'm surprised he's not doing better than he has. And the other one is De'Aaron Fox was great in games 1 and 2. He kind of disappeared in game 3.
Yeah.
That was Wemby's show. So if you can get more consistency out of De'Aaron Fox and Wemby's level of play right now, it's over. It's absolutely fucking over.
I mean, Anunoby, coming back off the injuries and everything, has looked good. I've watched a good chunk of this series. Where's Josh Hart been?
I don't know. And he's the one who talked the most shit after they won the Eastern Conference.
I mean, Dalton Vassal's played really well. The Spurs are basically, it's almost eerily reminiscent of it's very reminiscent of their great teams back in the 2000s with their 3-headed monster, because those were the 3 guys that you focused in on, but they had so many other great role players. Robert Horry is the first one that comes to mind here. It's built around Wemby. De'Aaron Fox is another all-star. Castle is another really good young player for them that they're hoping takes the next step in the next year or two and becomes a superstar. The Knicks are the end loaded team that has the superstars. You know, arguably, San Antonio's got the best player on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they've actually found ways that they don't need him to go out and put up 20 and 20.
And that's the scariest part about this series. If Let me put it this way: if Fox, Castle, and Wemby can turn into Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker for the next few games, this thing ain't getting out. This thing is done in New York in Game 6. So James, we've talked about college football in the middle of June. We've talked about the finals in both the NBA and the NHL, and now we come to the game that normally brings me such joy, but right now makes me want to wring someone's neck, and that is Major League Baseball. And it makes me want to wring someone's neck because the Mets are absolute trash. Absolute. Although everybody and their mother's hurt, they're still absolute trash. As they lose their second consecutive game to the your St. Louis Cardinals tonight, 9-2. But Jim, let's talk about the two teams with the highest payrolls.
Sorry, had to get that out. Continue.
That's no problem. Let's talk about the two teams with the highest payrolls and highest expectations that are actually playing really bad right now, and that is both my New York Mets and the San Diego Padres. Two teams that played over the weekend. Listen, the Mets took 2 out of 3 from San Diego, and I think of the two teams, San Diego has more pressing issues, as Manny Machado still owed 7 years on that deal, and he's hitting 171.
Yeah, the
Yes, he's got
stat that I
11
saw
bombs.
the other day was like through 62 games, Fernando Tatis has 1 home run. 1.
Yeah. Well, he's off the juice. Tatis only having 1 home run, I liken to the SEC not winning a championship since NIL. We all know why.
There's
We just won't say it.
some truth. There's some possibility to that.
So, having watched all 3 games over the weekend with my wonderful device that I have here, because by the way, I meant to tell you, Brunswick, Georgia is in market for the Miami Marlins.
Oh, to be able to be there while their stadium gets renovations?
No, it's blacked out on MLB.TV. South Georgia is blacked out for South Florida.
Interesting.
Yeah, fuck you, Rob Manfred, you scumbag bastard. So,
Michael, I know you don't want to hear it. The best team in baseball, the Atlanta Braves, a team that we on this show picked to finish 4th in that division.
Well, we picked them to finish 4th in the division for a reason. They could still finish out of the top spot. Again, they are not the guys who have been habitually hurt are playing. Think about it. Top of the rotation, Chris Sale's been amazing. Chris Sale goes down right through the floor because Spencer Strider is not what he was pre-Tommy John. Hasn't been since he came back. Schwellenbach, you don't know what you're getting night in, night out from him, but he has been overall okay. Bryce Elder has not been that great either. No, Bryce Elder's gone. Who's the sinker baller they got? God damn, why can't I think of his name?
But the Braves lead the NL East by 9 over Philadelphia, that a lot of us thought that Philadelphia was going to win that division and win it going away.
Well,
the
again,
3 best teams in baseball right now are all sitting in the National League, Michael.
Yeah, the Braves, the Dodgers are both playing really well.
And the Brewers.
And the Brewers. And who would have thought the Brewers would do that after the way they dismantled the team after last season? Maybe the Brewers knew something because Freddie Peralta has been terrible. I mean,
and
look,
the fact that, go ahead.
I really believe that those three teams are going to end up where they are if they stay healthy. The Dodgers just too
The
deep.
only
They're
other
just too deep.
the There's only 4 teams in baseball that have run differentials at this point over 100, and that's 3 of them. The other one are the New York Yankees, who are at 103 after sweeping Cleveland this week, and that's the only reason that they're over 100 right now.
Yeah, they played really well in Cleveland. I got to give them credit where credit's due. But Jim, hey,
Michael,
who's in
speaking of
first place?
Cleveland, yes, I was just going to bring this up. Welcome back to the United States, the Chicago White Sox, who are about to polish off the Braves tonight and take sole possession of first place in the American League Central because the Guardians are 3-7 in their last 10, were swept by the Yankees, and then lost 10-0 on Sunday in the season finale against Texas.
Listen, the fact that Chicago is playing this well, is Kansas City in last place in that division?
Kansas City is 28-39. They are tied with Detroit for last place in the AL Central. And there's
That is
the
unreal.
talk has already started. Tarek Skubal could get moved.
He's gone. He's gone. Not even could get.
And this was supposed to be Detroit's year.
Listen, Jim, I know they came back and beat him in the playoffs last year. I think blowing that 15-game lead was such a gut punch to them. And I know a little something about that. See the 2007 and 2008 Mets. 1 year was a collapse. 1 year was injury issues.
Listen, and Detroit, what? Also 2024, you guys blew a big lead. And
2022.
Well, didn't you guys also? Wasn't it even last year that you guys lost a significant hold on the playoffs and didn't even? Well, yeah, it was last year. You guys didn't even get in. That you guys were firmly in a position going into the final 6 weeks and blew it
and fell apart. Listen, it happened, and there's nothing to do about it. Having said all that, my most impressive, besides Chicago, how about every team in the National League Central being over 500?
Well, I mean, as of right now, the Reds are 3 games under 500, but yeah, it's still, and that's just only been since recently. The Brewers 41-24, 17 up. The Cardinals 37-28 have won 6 in a row and can't gain any real ground because of how well the Brewers are playing. The Pittsburgh Pirates are 2 games over 500. The Cubs are a game over 500, and the Reds bringing up the rear again, only 3 under 500 because they're 3-7 in their last 10.
Yeah, this has been a banner year for the National League Central. It's been a banner year for the Braves, and the Phillies making the managerial change to Don Mattingly has worked wonders for them as they roared back and are now in second place. You know, my favorite thing I've seen though is I love the way the Nationals are building this thing. I really do, and I hate the Nationals. I also love the fact that Mike Trout's been healthy this year.
Even though the Angels are still one of the worst teams in baseball, yeah, the baseball's good when Mike Trout's playing well.
Exactly. The other thing that's surprising to me in baseball this year, James, is is it just me or has Tom Hamilton gotten a little more snarky since he got into the Hall of Fame?
I mean, the Jazz Chisholm comment, bit the Guardians in the ass the last couple of days. But for me, I think the most surprising thing for me is, and hear me out here, a little bit of parody with the fact that this might be the last season that we've got with the way the baseball's constructed for a little bit. You don't have anybody really, I mean, the Braves, playing in the softest division in baseball, at least to this point, not just as we're approaching the halfway point with the largest division lead. The Padres hitting the skids a little bit, allowing the Dodgers to open their lead. How strong the NL Central's been. The Athletics, after that monster start, have kind of come back down to earth. They're 3 games under, but they're only 3 games out in that division because Seattle's only 3 games up. But we also, for the first time I can remember, and certainly for the first time since we've been doing this show, we do not have a historically bad start to a team out of the gates. Colorado is 17 under 500. Um, they've only got 25 wins. The Angels only have 26. They're 16 games out of 500. But this is something where we're not seeing like, you know, teams still going into Flag Day or Juneteenth weekend still in the teens.
Yeah, no, this is a very good thing for baseball that way. The parity is nice too, to see the White Sox after years of being so abysmal. You and I sent them to Central Europe and East Asia. Look, I think this is going to be a banner year for Major League Baseball going into a year where they may not play. As the proposals have started swapping, we will get into that as we get deeper into the season, because we're going to have, first of all, we're going to agree to disagree in a lot of things with this, you and I, as we come from both opposite sides of the fence on this. But also, I think what this is going to show is baseball is still healthy. And it is still a game that can be not only profitable, but exciting. I mean, you got young players all over the place. I mean, as bad as the Mets have been, did you see what Carson Bench did on Sunday?
I did.
5 for 5, 3 singles, a homer, and a triple. AJ Ewing, who was the other kid they brought up, they are playing. Soto calls them the psychopaths because they play with reckless abandon. I mean, i.e., Lenny Dykstra and Wally Backman from 40 years ago. Oh, God, that's next week. The 86 reunion thing is in a week or two. Holy cow. We're getting old. I remember that series. God damn. It's been 40 years. 40 years. Unreal. But the young players shut up, Dick. But it's good, for all the garbage we talk about, the guys making all this money and all the money grubbers like the Dodgers, the Mets, the Phillies, the Yankees, the Red Sox, to a level, the Padres. It is so nice to see young players playing well. And here's the best part.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some of them, their daddies played in the league 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's and we got a perfect example of that last night with in Chicago on the South Side.
Yeah,
for Braden Montgomery, first major league hit is a walk-off home run. And if any of you guys have seen the clip, first of all, whatever their stadium's called now has not been that full in a long, long time. First of all, it was really good to actually hear that kind of ovation. But the best part of that whole clip, if you go back and watch it, was the bullpen catcher immediately, and I mean immediately, getting the attention of the guy who caught the home run ball to be able to get it back.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was definitely pretty cool. Not to rub the salt in something else for Chicago, but it's kind of cool that the White Sox are playing well when the Bears are leaving.
Yeah, very much so. With the Cubs only, one game over 500 right now, and ironically enough, I watched a certain movie that apparently they could use a relief pitcher. Rosenbagger.
Nice. The best is at the end. Roman Gardner, you're going in. What did he call me?
Call me?
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the YZ Translator. It is the best segment of the night because it is the last segment of the night. It is that time when James and I give each other names inside and outside of the sports world, and we give to you from our sleep-deprived brains the first thing that comes to our minds. So, James, since we have been doing the pre-recorded, we have not had the Chronicle other than when we did the live show with John for 150, which again, we went all the way back to our youth and we learned it by watching them. So I
You're
your
welcome, by the
name's
way.
yeah, that was great, dude. I've watched that segment about 5 times since we did it. So James, since I give the first name of the night, I am going to give you one we spoke about earlier. I actually read some of his words earlier. And your name in tonight's Wisey Translator, James, is Texas Tech AD Kirby Hocutt.
I mean, he's got to do the right thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't call an emergency call to basically all the other ADs within the conference, call an emergency call to basically bitch about what's going on. He's got to be feeling the heat at this point. If he doesn't make this right, you're going to see players, even if Texas Tech's up by 30 or whether they're down by 30, you're going to see first team players go in, and you're going to probably start seeing, guys headhunting, targeting, whatever they can, just to be able to get a free shot at this guy. He's got to make this right.
Yeah, he really does. I agree with you 100%. This kid can't play. He can't.
Michael, your name in the Wisey Translator tonight. We brought up their team earlier. We know how good he is when he's on the field, but it's the one thing that I'm hoping that you saw that he did off of it on his way home the other night that's making rounds and is honestly the best story I've seen come out of baseball all week, and that is Pittsburgh Pirates star pitcher Paul Skeens.
Why couldn't I live close to somewhere where I had a major league team so someone come to my little league practice? You're right. That was pretty fucking cool. I mean, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Those kids did not know what to do. But the best part about it was he didn't walk in there and go, I'm Paul Skeens. He walked in there and basically said, can I play?
Yeah.
And that was amazing. You go home to live. You are one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball, and you still understand this is a kid's game.
Go ahead.
To paraphrase the great Tom Selleck in the movie Mr. Baseball, baseball is a game.
Baseball's a game.
Games are supposed to be fun.
And then let somebody chew on fire.
Now own pussies?
Now you own the pussies. What a great movie.
Yo, Dennis Haysbert again plays a slugger.
Yep. It's you can't do that here, slugger.
Hold on. Ooch speaks English?
Shit.
Best line in that movie is at the end when the manager's walking away from the owners of the team. It's gonna cost you, Chief.
That was next to the two major league movies. That was my favorite baseball movie growing up.
I would have to say that Major League Bull Durham, which you, John, and I talked about the other day.
And then getting the whole team to do the hokey pokey.
My favorite move was when he was at the driving range hitting golf balls.
I want to hit baseball.
Do you know how many times I've wanted to do that?
Yeah.
Launch golf balls with a baseball bat. That would have been amazing.
The only, or just go to a batting cage and just do that. Just basically soft toss,
Yeah, exactly.
There was something that I saw, like a smaller college softball team that like on graduation day, they're all in their dresses and everything before they put on their caps and gowns, and they actually, where they soft tossed at the field one final time before graduation.
I saw that, but did you see the girl who played in the Women's College World Series is due in December?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was cool. By the way, hats off. Congratulations to the Texas Women Lady Longhorns on their second consecutive Women's College World Series win, beating Texas Tech and Maya Williams, the offspring of White Chocolate himself, Jason Williams. By the way, she can hit. Jesus Christ.
Speaking of hit,
She's
did you happen
good.
to see the men's college super regional between Georgia and Mississippi State the other night?
I did not.
It was a 6-0 game after the second inning. Georgia was up. The game ended 15-13.
Okay, where did the pitching go?
Exactly. It's like I look up every time I looked up at the score on ESPN's website, somebody else had the lead. It was absolutely nuts.
Well, I think that the upsets in the regionals have been insane. St. John's upset Florida State.
Yeah, Florida didn't advance. Yeah.
I look forward to Rosenblatt every year and playing the show. You get to Rosenblatt if you play in college. So I thought I love the College World Series.
Michael, would you like to actually discuss our next show?
Yes, our next show will only be our third live show of the year, our fourth live show of the year. But it's a very special episode of the Wise Guy Sports Show, and we're working on format of it. We will have it nailed down probably by the end of the weekend, beginning of next week. But what little did we realize that next Friday night, June 19th, will be the 10-year anniversary of the greatest Father's Day in the history of Northeast Ohio, as it will be 10 years to the day that the Cleveland Cavaliers finished off the greatest comeback in NBA Finals history to win Cleveland's first professional sports championship since 1964. We're going to talk about where we were that night. We're going to talk about our feelings that night. I'm not wearing the jersey that night, by the way. I know since we debuted them during the draft, not during the during the draft. I have worn it every episode because I love it. But I will not be wearing the jersey that night, and I will have a special lid to wear that night too for the show. But we're gonna reach out to some people we know who watch the game with us. I joked with Steph the other day. I said, "Hey, babe, it's 10 years since you watched your last basketball game next Friday night," and she went, "You're acting like I was paying attention."
There's also a possibility, since the game is completely streamed on YouTube, that you can go watch it anytime. There's a possibility we may do a kind of live watch along for our feelings through that, sprinkle in our commentary throughout. Certainly be able to kind of turn the audio off, because it's let's be honest, we can't stand Mike Breen half the time. Um, Even though Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy were a hell of a lot more entertaining than, the sideline guys or color guys that
Dude,
any of these networks put out right now.
is Fred's broadcast somewhere?
No, it's because that was
Okay.
only shown locally. And that was
Can we get
actually
John
still
Michaels?
when it was, I know their final calls are there. I don't know if you can find the whole thing. I'd love to know if they were.
Okay.
I was actually petitioning Fox Sports Ohio to be able to release that whole thing like in a DVD format, or like, or something, or put up the stream with it dubbed over at that point. But the only time they ever really did that was like the 1 year anniversary of it, the 5 year anniversary. Who knows? They may redo it, Friday night, and we may be able to watch along with that. I got to check the TV schedule here, because I know I'm going to get Fox or FanDuel Sports Ohio. You don't. We might be able to figure something out and see if they'll actually put something like that up. But I mean, I've got the ESPN video downloaded from YouTube that we have. Naturally, all the commercials are cut out with it, but it was still the only time that ever was eclipsed for me as a sports fan was when it was January was June 12th, 2019, the night the Blues won the Stanley Cup.
The only night that eclipses me, and all joking aside, it's because it's a bigger fandom for me. And it's that 2003 Fiesta Bowl when Ohio State beat Miami and won the national championship. That was bigger for me because, everybody talks to me like, what's your things? It's like the Mets are up here, the Buckeyes are here, and the Cavs, unfortunately, are third. But we won't talk about the 12 layers of shit before the NFL because of who I grew up rooting for.
Okay, Billy Bean.
Well, listen, he didn't lie. But we will see you guys on the channel next Friday night, 9 p.m., which, by the way, we are doing that not just because Bobby will be going to sleep, but because that game actually tipped at 9 p.m. Eastern too.
So we're going to be in for a long night. If I can reach out and get the right assistance, we may be able to debut kind of the new look live show with that. If not, you'll see us on Restream as normal. The new look of the Wise Guys is still in the works. We should have that by our first show in July because we're going to be taking the July 4th weekend off. I've got some other irons in the fire, personally and professionally with some things here regarding the show and in my personal life. Mike knows about that. We're still gonna, bring you the high quality content and everything. With this, I've got a new splash screen being developed for the podcast on YouTube. I just could not have it ready in time for last week. I should hopefully it will be ready for when this goes live on Saturday morning.
Why did You Can Forget About Doran because he's just high price popped into my head when you said high quality content?
Because we picked him up as a free agent 3 years ago.
He can still hit the ball.
Yeah, just can't field it.
We'll see you guys next Friday night.